Hi, everybody. My name is Dustin with www.gamblingonfreedom.com. I am a certified hypnotherapist specializing in problem gambling, gambling addiction, compulsive gambling. And in today's video, I really want to talk about the gambler's fallacy and why certain betting systems, we'll say, are more addictive than others. So, what kind of betting systems are more addictive than others? Well, sports betting is more addictive than others. Poker, roulette, blackjack, these kinds of things are more addictive than, say, slots. Now, a lot of people think that slots are actually more addictive. It's not true. And I'll tell you why. So, what is the gambler's fallacy? Let's start there. Well, the gambler's fallacy basically says, I'm due for a win. Okay, I've played 4 hands of poker and I'm due for the next win. I've played roulette 3 or 4 times. I'm due for a win. I've played on this slot machine for 30 minutes. I'm due for a win. Okay, that's the gambler's fallacy. It essentially makes you want to keep going, keep chasing, because there's a belief that you're going to win very soon. Okay, that's the gambler's fallacy. And it gets created when we're very young. Okay, it gets created when we're actually children. So I want you to think about it like this. When we're kids, it's recess time in school, and we have all kinds of games. We have basketball, football, soccer, tennis, tetherball, wall ball, kickball, whatever, right? Baseball, right? We have all these different games and even video games, right? Video games are actually a part of this too. So you might have a kid that's more sporty. You might have a kid that's more reserved in their house, isolating video games, whatever. Doesn't matter. Pretty much every game that we play is going to fall in this thing. So what it falls into is called variable rates of change. Okay, so there's fixed variable rates of change. There's randomized variable rates of change. What is a fixed variable rate of change? Well, a fixed variable rate of change says, okay, well, I have this amount of skill playing basketball. I understand my skill level to this degree that I'm in right now. And because of my skill and because I know my teammates and their skill, we might have lost 2 basketball games, but we're definitely going to win the next one. We have this skill. We know we're decent at basketball, and maybe we lose 2 and we win 1, or we lose 3 and we win 1, or we win 3 and we lose 1, right? And so there's a fixed variable rate of change. We know that we're not going to lose forever. There's a skill involved. We have skill. I'm fast. I shoot good threes. My buddy over here shoots good free throws. This guy's good at layups. We have a whole dynamic going. And so we have skill. We have a belief in skill. And because of that belief in skill, we know from an intrinsic understanding that I'm never going to just lose forever. That can't happen, And I believe that because of our skill, we can actually affect the outcome. We can affect the result, right? And so I might lose 2, but we're going to win the next one. We might lose 4, but we're going to win the next one. That would be a fixed variable rate of change, and it applies to every game you can think of growing up. Pretty much any game that has any structure to it where there's a clear winner, that would be a fixed variable rate of change. Baseball, basketball, football, soccer, kickball, tetherball, wall ball. I think wall ball, if I'm not mistaken. And video games, right? Even video games. You think about video games, you play a video game and maybe it's a boss level, and maybe you play it 10 times and you keep losing. You've lost 10 times in a row, but you know that every time you play, you're getting better, right? And so eventually you win, and you know that. And so if you're a video game player, you already know at some point you're going to win. This boss is not going to beat you forever, and you're going to keep going, keep trying, keep playing, and keep adapting, keep adjusting, and keep gaining skill, and keep doing more and more and more, and you're going to win, right? That's what's going to happen. So eventually you will win, and you know that. That is a fixed variable rate of change. So when you go to slots is a randomized variable rate of change. It's an algorithm. There is no fixed variable rate of change, but it hijacks that sort of preconditioned understanding of a fixed variable rate of change. The brain understands patterns. If I lose 4, I'm definitely going to win 1. right? So our brain is a pattern matching machine and it loves patterns. Well, with a slot machine, it's completely random. There is no fixed variable rate of change. It's an algorithm. You can play the slots for 10 minutes and win one, maybe 20 minutes and win one. Maybe you don't win anything in 50 minutes, right? And so it's a randomized variable rate change. Maybe you win three and then lose. Maybe you spin 5 times and then win two. Maybe whatever. It's random. It's completely random. There is no rhyme or reason to the algorithm. It just generates what it generates, and you have no ability to affect it with skill. It's an algorithm. So a lot of people think that that's more addictive because it's a machine, it's an algorithm, and all these things. But it's actually not. What's more addictive is things like poker, blackjack, roulette, um, sports betting, whatever. These kinds of games that have skill attached to it are actually more addictive. And the reason is because it doesn't just play on dopamine, just like the slots do. It actually plays on illusions of control and identity. It actually plays on your illusion that you have the control of the game because, well, you have stats. If this person is injured, you have analytics of last season. You can tell if this team is doing well. There's let's just say poker, right? That's kind of sports betting. You got poker. You're a good poker player. You know the odds. You maybe count cards a little bit. Who knows? You have poker or blackjack or roulette, and you have all these strategies, and you have all these different ways of affecting the game, right? What it does is it gives you an illusion of control. That's what it does. It gives you an illusion of control. You believe, again, because of your preconditioned understanding of how games are played, you believe that because you have skill in this game, that you can understand the player's injuries, you can understand the player's team, you look at the stats from last year, you can do all these different things that you believe will affect the outcome. That gives you a illusion of control, but it is still an illusion. You don't actually have control there. And what happens even more is, because you can still lose that way, even though you still have this illusion of control and you think that you should win because you have all these stats, what happens is now when you lose, it doesn't just affect your system in terms of a dopamine thing. Yes, you will have dopamine and all of that, but now when you lose, it's actually affecting your identity too. Because if you're the kind of person who believes that they're understanding, they're analyzing, their discipline, their willpower, their strategy, all of these things will actually help them win, which if you play sports, you probably have that kind of a mindset. You get stronger inside, you get better, you get more knowledge, you understand more, you analyze better, all these things. You will believe you can win. You will believe you can affect the change. You believe that you can get the result that you want because you can be better, right? This is kind of professional gamblers. This is what they run into. This is why professional gamblers are actually more addicted to gambling than probably anyone else, because they believe that with their skill, they can create the outcomes that they want. That is an illusion of control, firstly. Secondly, when they lose, it doesn't just play on the nervous system. Well, it does, but it doesn't just play on that. It plays on identity. It's like, I should be better than this. I know the game. I know the stats. I know the analytics. I know the players. I know the injuries. I know all of this stuff. There's no reason why I should lose, but I lost, right? So it's still random, guys. This is the thing. With betting, any gamble that you do, it is always a randomized variable rate of change. It's not fixed. Even if you believe you have the skill to change the outcome, you don't actually know that you can do that. In a basketball game, if you know that team and you know your team, there is a good chance that, even if you've lost two or three, you can very well win the next one. You can't lose forever, not based off understanding that your skill is just as good as their skill. But that's not what happens when it comes to sports betting or uh, poker or blackjack or roulette or any of those things. Those are still random. You don't have as much control as you think you do. You think you have control, but you don't. And that is the big illusion. One of the bigger illusions is I have all of these stats and these analytics and this understanding of how the game works, and I know the player stats and I know that team stats. Because I have all this information, I should win. But anything can happen. Variables change, right? And if any amount of variables can change, and it's still random. It's still random. You're not the one in the game. And I think that's one of the bigger differences is when you're playing basketball, when you're playing soccer, when you're playing video games, you're the one playing. You're in the game. Your skill is actually the one doing it. In a betting context, you're not the one playing. You're betting. You're the one putting up the money, but you're not actually playing the game. You don't actually have skill in that game that you can affect real change. All you have is analytics, statistics, logic, and all these things. And yes, you can win. Not saying that you'll always lose, and you can win good money. But when you understand that it's still random because you really don't have as much control as you think, what happens is, first off, it plays on your identity because you might lose, and now it's like, well, I shouldn't be losing. I know all the stats. There's no reason. And so it hits your identity hard. And then on the same token, it's still randomized. And then on the same token, beyond that, it's not you in the game. It's not you in the game. You're not the one playing. You're the one betting. And so you don't have ways to control variables that you could control if you were actually playing, if that makes sense. Because if you're actually playing, you have now not just skill in stats, but you have skill in action. You have movement. You can play harder. You can shoot better. You can run faster. You actually have the ability to change the game. You don't have that when you're betting, though. It just makes you feel like you do. Does that make sense? It just makes you feel like you have that control. You don't have that control. That's an illusion. It's not real. And so, because it plays on your identity, and because it plays on this preconditioned understanding of how games are played, the fixed variable rates of change versus the randomized variable rates of change, because it's a gambler's fallacy where I'm due for a win, that creates so much dopamine in and of itself. Right? I'm due for a win. I know the stats. I'm ready to, I know their stats. I know these guys' stats. I know all this stuff. Because I know all this stuff, I believe that I can win. And that creates dopamine, this belief, this truly believable feeling that you feel is not intuition. It's illusion. It's an illusion of control. It's not intuition. You're not intuitively guessing right. You're if you get it right, you're just being lucky. That's really what it is, just luck. And it's good. I mean, luck is great, and you can, think of yourself as a lucky person if you want to, but it is random. It's not fixed, and you can get really good at having the stats, and maybe you win a lot. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but here's the thing: most players, I would say, fall into this trap. They have all the stats, they know all the numbers, they believe that if they analyze that team and this team more, they'll understand how the game is going to go. They know the injuries that the players have, and so they essentially believe very fully that they have this sort of gut wrench feel, this gut feeling, well, not a gut wrench, but a gut feeling probably that they're going to win. They have the skill. They know what they're doing. They understand the game. And so that gut feeling feels like intuition, but really it's just dopamine firing from a conditioned, preconditioned thing of understanding how games work and that pattern match that the brain has, and says, oh, well, our skill is involved. We have a chance to win, just like back then. But that's not true. So as long as you believe you have a chance to win, you're not going to stop. You're not going to stop. Why would you? You're not going to stop. You're not going to quit gambling because you believe you can affect the outcome through skill. It's a control illusion. It's an illusion of control. And because of that, your addiction grows stronger because it's not just on that dopamine level like a slot machine is. You know that the slot machine is random. You're not as we'll say where you're less convinced, I'll say, about playing slots as you are to playing, say, blackjack or sports betting, because here you have skill and here it's random. And so a lot of people, they go towards the other types of games. They don't even go towards slots sometimes just because of that reason. They know that it's random and they want to have more control. So they move to things like sports betting, horse racing, we'll say a poker, roulette, blackjack, these kinds of things. They'll move to that simply because they know that this is random and they really don't have much control. They think that they have more control here because there's skill, but that skill is a illusion. It's not real. You don't actually have the skill to affect the change of the game. You're not in it. You're literally not in it. You can't actually affect the change. There's variables going on that are still randomized that you can't predict, period. Right? One day this guy's energy levels might be lower, but yet on paper he's the best player in the team, right? Like, but his energy levels are low, and maybe he's going through stuff, and maybe he's not running as fast, right? There's just so many variables you can't change and affect simply because you think you have the stats or the logic or the understanding. So all of that being said, I have written a book. It's called The Easy Way to Quit Gambling, Exposing the Illusions That Keep You Hooked, and How to Break Free for Good. And in this book, I go over things like this: variable rates of change, randomized versus fixed. I go over different illusions of control, illusions of hope, illusions of relief, illusions of fun, illusions of entertainment, different illusions that will be somebody, in someone's mindset that they can actually win at gambling. But here's the thing, guys, even when you're winning, you're just creating more and more of the addiction. The winning just creates more of the addiction anyway. And ultimately what needs to happen is first we need to break these illusions. You're not getting real entertainment, you're not getting real fun, you're not getting real relief. If you've watched this channel enough, you already know you're not actually even trying to get jackpots or chasing the money. You're not actually doing any of that. You're just chasing a feeling. You don't actually want the jackpot. You don't actually want the money. You want the feeling you'd feel if you had the money or the jackpot, probably a sense of freedom or a sense of relief. You don't, you're most likely moving away from stress, right? It's painful. Your everyday life dopamine levels are lower because when you're gambling, they're very high, and your nervous system has now associated a high level of dopamine to safety. And this is the natural way to be now. So everyday life just feels low. And eventually, with the low dopamine plus all the pain stacking on from bad bets, bad debt, broken promises, all these things, more and more stress, you need to move away from pain towards pleasure. So the attempted solution to this pain is gambling. And so, we have to break the illusion. So long as you believe gambling is serving you, you won't quit, period. And in the book, it teaches you how to understand gambling at a deeper level, to understand that gambling really isn't the way out, guys. This isn't the way to live your life. All it's doing is taking from you. And the problem is that the addiction itself almost kind of grows a cage around you without you realizing it. What happens is you're playing, you're doing your stuff, you win something, you win some, you lose some, all these things. And then before you know it, you're trapped. You're in a cage of addiction. And it built itself around you while you were playing. And now you look up and you're like, wow, I'm here. I'm already addicted. I didn't even know I was addicted until I tried to stop. Right. And that's the thing, right? You don't even know you have a problem until you try to quit gambling. Right. And that's one way to tell is, well, how do I know if I'm a gambling addict? Try to quit for 6 months. Literally just cold turkey, don't gamble for 6 months. If you can, you're probably not addicted. If you can't, if after a couple of weeks you're like, oh, I'm antsy, I gotta go. That's the pain I was talking about, right? It's that antsiness. It's that feeling of not gambling. Like if you're going 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and there's this feeling that is uncontrollable, and it's like, I really need to get out of here. I need to move away from this pain. Maybe it's boredom. Maybe it's mundaneness. Maybe it's no spark in life, lack of fulfillment. Maybe it's actual hurt from debt, right? Maybe it's actual stress. Maybe it's other life things, right? And so what happens is the gambling becomes a attempted solution. You move away from pain towards pleasure. That would be how you know if you're a gambling addict. That would be probably the only real way to know. Try to quit, try to stop. Give yourself 6 months. Tell yourself, I'm not going to go for 6 months. And if you can do that and nothing happens, you're not really worried about the feelings, doesn't almost force you to go. There isn't a driving force of almost a fight flight response to get out of this pain and go into pleasure, which is the gambling. If you don't feel that, then you're most likely not addicted. But usually, if you are addicted, I mean, you'll start to feel that urgency, that urge, those craving thoughts. You'll start to feel that to go gamble within probably 2 weeks. If you're a gambling addict, within 2 weeks for sure. So try to quit for 6 months. That would be a good way to know. So if you are having troubles with quitting gambling, if you really know that you want to quit, in my last video I talked about a committed decision. You need to make a committed decision. If you want to be a professional gambler but you want to quit, you're not really there yet. You have to make a decision. You can't have both, right? And so when you want to quit, really try. I mean, you don't need me yet, right? Just try to quit. And if you can't quit for some reason, you just keep going back. You don't know what it is. You don't know how to stop it. You don't know how to break the loop. You don't know how to quit the urges. You don't know how to get out of the feelings. All of these things, when you've tried it yourself enough and you're tired of trying yourself, that's when maybe you should contact me, because I can help you get out of gambling addiction. I can help you get out of a problem gambling, compulsive gambling. I can get you out of this mindset. I can help you regulate your nervous system, get you back into neutral, get you back into rebuilding your life and actually feeling good about it, right? So that normal life actually feels good again. That's one of the problems is gambling takes away everything. It doesn't give you anything. It takes away everything. It takes away relief. It takes away happiness. It takes away fulfillment. It takes away purpose. It takes away everything, literally. So if you're having a hard time quitting gambling, or if you know someone who's having a hard time quitting gambling, mention my channel, subscribe, comment. I like to read you guys' comments and reply if I can. And if you are ready to get out of gambling, if you have that committed decision, it's no longer good for you, you're ready to quit, sign up for a free consultation. Let's chat about it. No pressure. Just want to chat, see where you are with your gambling addiction, see where you are in your mindset about quitting. And if we're a good fit for each other, I'd be happy to help you out to quit gambling. It's really not that deep, right? It's really that easy. So I'll put the link for the book below in the description. I'll have a link for my free consultation. You can look at my website, www.gamblingonfreedom.com. That'll be in the description as well. And if you guys feel like you want some help, set up a free consultation and let's get started. All right, that's it for today's video, guys. Hope you have a great week. All right, take care for now.